Hey YouTube, it's Dana and I'm back again. Um, I am back because gardening season is beginning and I wanted to just go over some basic information for new gardeners. I am starting my seedlings this week because I've looked at the last frost day for my area and it's April 15th. So I have decided to go ahead and start my seedlings. That way, by the time that last frost day hits and I am able to actually put something, or I'm willing to put something in the ground, I will have larger plants. And so that way my vegetables will come through sooner. Now, what is your last frost date? The last frost date is the date that they've calculated. It's not an exact science, so you do have to use some common sense, but it's a range of dates that they give you that within your area you should not have another hard frost. So what you can do is that you can actually Google that information. You can go on Google and just ask the question, when is the last frost date for your city and state? And they will let you know that. So the first thing you want to do is to check your last frost date. Now, I made a little list so I wouldn't forget what I was talking about. The next thing you want to do is you want to plan your season. Now, I typically do this over the winter. I have a chart and I figure out what vegetables I want to grow, what time they need to be, like what time of the year they need to be in the ground. Is it a cool weather, a summer, or a fall plant? And so I figure out what I'm going to grow for the whole year and where I'm actually physically going to put that plant in my garden. So it may be a little late for you to do that, but it's not too late for you to at least make a list. And the thing that will help you are seed catalogs. You can go online like Burpee, and I just use Burpee, but there's other people. Their catalog is actually online. And what you can do is that you can use it like the Sears catalog, like when you were a kid and the Sears catalog came out with the Christmas catalog, and you can actually go through that catalog and make it your wish list. Like, this is what I would like to grow in my garden. And so that way you can kind of make a list and come up with a plan. And so the next thing after you find out your frost date is to plan your garden. And then how are you going to grow them? Are you going to have raised beds? Are you going to do container gardens? Are you just going to put them in the ground? Make that decision. And look out over your yard and see, do you have wet areas? Because there's been a lot of rain in my area recently. And so I know where standing water is in my yard. And because I know where that standing water is, I know that I will never put any garden in certain areas of my yard. So make sure that you look at the lay of the land around you. You want your garden to be on a high area versus a low area, and that way you'll make sure that there's no standing water around it. Clean up last year's beds. That was a big thing for me. I had to go, all the leaves were blowing all winter, and so I had to go and clean up my beds. I had to do some weeding. I found a couple of snakes that were frozen and dead. But, it's like I cleaned out my beds. And so that's another thing you need to do is go ahead and clean out your garden beds and get ready to fortify your soil. To fortify your soil, you're going to use peat moss. What I use is peat moss, the compost that I've made, and cow manure. Now, peat moss is something that will thin out. Like, I have clay soil where I live, so the peat moss is really good because it thins it out for me. And they usually say it's about a 2-to-1 with peat moss, but peat moss can be expensive. So, do what you can when you can. If you can only afford one bag of peat moss, get that one bag, pick an area of your garden, till it in until it looks like the consistency that you're kind of looking for, and then move on to the next section. But I wouldn't go broke trying to put peat moss in my garden, because there have been years where I honestly could not afford to buy the peat moss, so I just let it go. It's like I did what I could do. The other thing is the cow manure. Cow manure is a good nutrient for your garden. It is full of any manure, any animal manure actually, and even your human manure. But we're not going to talk about that. Any animal manure is really good for your garden, but the cow manure that you get has kind of been sanitized for you. So you can buy a couple of bags of cow manure, depending on the area that you have, and it's a trial and error. There's no exact science for the cow manure. What I will typically do is I will buy, maybe for like a 4x4 bed, I will get like one bag and I'll till that through the whole area and kind of see how I would just kind of see what it looks like. Like I said, there's no exact science. It just depends on your soil and how much nutrients you think that you need in it. There's been times when I've used more and I've used less, so it just depends. Another good thing to have about is a couple of bales of straw. That is good for mulching. especially because I'm going to grow red potatoes this year. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my potatoes in, and then I'm going to cover them with straw, and that's as much as I'm going to do to them. It cuts down on your weeding, and it also it degrades back into the soil, so it's not something like pine straw that you have to pick up later. You can just put it down and walk away. So you want to fortify your soil after you figure out your last frost day and you've planned your garden. And right now it is February 21st. And like I said, my last frost day is April 15th. And so I am getting ready to plant my cool weather vegetables. Now the cool weather vegetables are, and I had to make a list because I can't remember all of them, broccoli, kale, Swiss chard, cabbage, beets, carrots, cauliflower, certain types of lettuce, mustard greens, garden peas, radish, spinach, turnip. Those are all cool weather vegetables. So some of those I do plan on growing this year. So I'm going to start my seedlings in the house this week. So by the time that last frost day comes, or just depending on the weather, if I'm a little brave, I might put those out sooner, but they'll be actually plants. They'll be actual plants and not seeds. And so that'll kind of get me ahead of the game with the gardening season. And I might even be able to do like a second growing because I started early. Now I have a friend, and last year she brought broccoli, and I will tell anybody, stores will sell you vegetables out of season. They sold her the broccoli too late in the season for it to actually go through, to actually become broccoli before it became frosty. But I told her to kind of cover it up all winter and keep it safe, and then it would grow when it was ready to grow. Well, guess what? Last week she sent me a video of this beautiful broccoli she has in her yard. So be mindful when you buy plants from like Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever you buy them. Remember, they will sell you things out of season. But even if you put them in the ground and they don't do anything, as long as they're alive, I would keep them and let them, they'll grow when they get ready to grow. When the season is here, they will grow. And that's it. So I'm going to start my seedlings. I'm probably going to do another video once I've done my seedlings to kind of show you how I do them. You can start seedlings in trays that you actually purchase. You can start seedlings in egg cartons. I prefer the cardboard cartons over the styrofoam, but once again, use what you have and don't go crazy trying to buy something extra. So if you have styrofoam, so be it. You use styrofoam and you just have to split it, cut it open and then put the plant in. I just like the cardboard because you can literally put that whole little cup into the ground when once the plant gets bigger. So it is time to start our cool weather vegetables. Figure out how you're going to do it. Figure out where it's going to be. And remember, you can always go to a feed store to buy seeds. It is kind of expensive to buy seeds from catalogs. There's nothing the matter with it. And I have ordered seeds from catalogs in the past. But everybody's money is tight. And I know I'm trying to save every penny I can right now. So look for a feed store in your area. I think I spent $23 and I bought every seed that I'm going to use for the rest of the season. Because, like I said, I plan out my garden. So every seed that I was going to use for the whole year, I purchased, and I only spent $23. There was no shipping. I didn't have to, it's like I got the quantity I wanted, and it was a lot cheaper for me to do it that way than to order seeds. But if you have to order seeds or if you want to, there's nothing wrong with that. But for those who are on a budget or who are just trying this for the first time and don't want to spend a lot of money, try going to a feed store and buying some seeds. And the last thing I want to tell you is I have been looking at the news last week, and I've seen everything going on in Dallas as far as people not having power and not having electricity and water and all the damage that was done. And, I'm really hoping that one thing we've all learned from what has been going on in 2020 and now 2021 is that we need to truly be prepared. Now, I'm kind of a preparedness crazy person. I try to be prepared for like anything that could possibly happen in the world. But being prepared does not happen overnight. It's something that you do a little bit at a time. And so what I'm challenging everyone to do is once a month, do one thing or buy one item to be prepared. That one item can be an emergency radio. Try to get one that has solar and crank so that you don't have to have 10 million batteries in your house. Buy an extra an extra container of water. When you go into the grocery store, pick up a couple of gallons of bottled water and put them in a room somewhere. Create a space for your overflow, your extra preparedness food, or when you go to the grocery store, get an extra can of whatever it is that you eat and put it away. Check the date and put it away. But I challenge everyone to start being more prepared, because things don't only happen in the winter. Things happen during the summer, during the fall, during the spring. All year round, something can possibly happen, and we all need to be prepared. So think about being prepared. Look around your house, see that one item, and if you do one item a month, that's not expensive. It can be less than $20. Think about what you can do to start being prepared. So I hope that information helps you. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. I do try really hard to answer the questions in the comments. I will be back with my next video once I have done my seedling, so that you can take a look and see how I do mine. And happy gardening. Have a good week. Bye-bye.